Hello, everyone. I'm Danielle Jackson, curator at Artist Space, the co-curator of this reading series. And I'm popping on to introduce Trey, also known as Vernon Keeve III. I've known Trey for a number of years now, and so I'll read a short bio, and I might also share a story. We'll see how it goes. Trey, also known as Vernon Keeve III, is an educator, poet, and skilled storyteller whose work sits at the intersection of race, sex, and gender politics, and seeks to foreground and understand the nuances of intersectionality. Their transformative collection of writings, titled Southern Migrant Mixtape, takes the reader through a journey of growth, offering portals through which to witness the experiences and observations of a Southern Virginia-born queer narrator, effortlessly exploring the duality, specifically the experience of being both Black and queer. Trey's work shines brightly, and it is brave in all the ways that it is deeply and unapologetically personal. Family, education, environment, spirituality, all ooze from the pages that this artist conjures. The work is as layered and textured with meaning as a woven tapestry. An avid historian, you might read or hear stories from Trey that are inspired by the history of voguing, a scene that would not exist without Madam C.J. Walker or the Walker Studio, a safe haven for queer social communities run by Alelia Walker during the Harlem Renaissance, or hear poems that render the emotions and activism of worrying mothers palpable. Mamie Till is a constant heroine, or read ghost stories that are shaped from childhood memories. Trey's writings, to me, are best understood as offerings, gifts, or lessons that humanize and are rooted in landscape and culture. It is work that is generous and exudes not only an acute understanding of history, but a continuous thirst for knowledge. I have many memories of Trey's readings and stories throughout the years. The most memorable is one of our first encounters, one fall night in Oakland, California. I accompanied friends to Art Murmur, a monthly festival that lined Telegraph Avenue with a multitude of visual art experiences and other happenings. As the event ended, we followed a crowd of people down what was probably Grand Avenue. It was dark and I had no idea where we were going, but felt compelled to stay with the crowd. We ended up at Trey's home. In the living room, about 7 of us sat cross-legged on the floor around Trey, who sat in a cozy chair and read to us from a range of texts, from theology to fiction. What I remember vividly is one of the stories, which was this beautiful celebration of queer strength and ended with queer folks saving the world from damnation. The uplifting of Black and queer narratives is omnipresent in Trey's work and studies, written always with compassion and love. The writings engage readers to see themselves in the multiple ways in which they can levitate above fear, racism, and so many other worldly circumstances. Please join me in welcoming Trey.
Danielle, thank you so much for that introduction. You taught me some things about myself. So I'm going to read some. I want to start in my book and then read some new stuff, and then maybe end in my book. My copy's falling apart, so I'm not going to show you guys. Oak trees in California are different than the oak trees in Virginia. The trees back home grow high into the sky, much the opposite of their low, crawling cousin, the California oak. They are both live, dropping no leaves in winter. That is to say that California has a winter. I once read Thoreau at the University of Virginia, fell in love with nature, wanting to find refuge in places surrounded by cliffs and pines. But then I grew to observe my life in the South, the locations where my family did not travel, and the conversations that trailed the mention of places west of Charlottesville, Virginia, and into the Blue Ridge Mountains. I attended UVA exactly 1 decade before Martise Johnson was brutally beaten by ABC officers. I stayed at the prestigious university for 1 year after 2 people on separate occasions were called racial epithets, and both times the campus divided racially. Or should I say the division just became prevalent? Because when I was accepted there was still a separate admissions office for African American students. BST or Black Study Time was when many Black students met in Clemens Library to study amongst the similitude of faces. BET, Black Eating Time, was when Blacks ate together. We were made into a horde, and the word horde comes with the subtext of opposition. With that in mind, I never understood why my father turned the destruction of my car window into a gay thing and not a racial thing. Do you bring your lovers home? Maybe someone saw you bring a lover home. It could have been anything. It couldn't have had anything to do with my race. I left before I could find out and before my voice disappeared behind the wall of students who didn't look like me. When the Black students convened for our granted times together, it looked like there were so many of us, but in class I felt washed out. I have only encountered Thoreau a few times since then. These days I think of Toni Morrison when I think of nature and literature, the way she weaves the entirety of the Black experience into a single telling of lore. Her words I will relay to my children, instead of the tales that only speak of the magic to be found in nature. The uncertainty of nature, the difference in the meaning of tree. Ropes don't grow from trees like they used to, but bullets do splay like seeds. Many dogs still only bark at Black faces, and I have inherited the fear from my ancestors, who were sold as meat and then turned into meat for dogs as they ran to escape. The fairy tale that Michael Brown ran towards, even though he knew the truth shot faster than his steps. There is no magic. I had driven through the Appalachian Mountains alone once on a trip to visit a friend in Carmichael's, Pennsylvania. Her mother white, her father Black, and she a twin. After I drove through the red covered bridge in Carmichael's to get to her mother's house, she told me, with you, my sister, and me here, there are exactly 2 Black people in town. We laughed. There is a disease in the people that, there is a dis-ease in the people that flood cells with water, tears down walls, disrupting life, even stopping it altogether. While I was there, a man pissed on a tree in her mother's yard. None of us knew what it meant, but the howl of what I assumed to be wolves kept me up all night. When I drove back home, I did not stop in southwestern Pennsylvania nor northeastern West Virginia for gasoline. And I discovered religion when my gas light came on in the western part of Virginia, still afraid to stop, but closer to home. There is a dis-ease in the land that builds walls, and tears stream down bricks from people trying to climb over to the other side. Barack Obama was nearing his first win into the White House, and my friend Chris asked me to go camping with him. His mother and her boyfriend, go with camping with him, his mother, and her boyfriend. I did not care for Chris's mom's boyfriend because he was an NRA member, and that is what we call Republicans in the rural South. Correction, that is what we call Republicans everywhere. However, the NRA member had access to spelunking grounds, and the land on which we were camping was behind a gate with lock and key. There is a disease in the body that separates meat from bone. I agreed to go because I had fallen in love with the mountains as a naive child, and because I knew what it was like to be in a mountainous region as a Black person, especially as the infamous fear-mongering Black male. I went because my Blackness was going to be behind a lock and key. I left my Barack the Vote shirt at home, along with my true sentiments of Chris's mom's boyfriend. After we passed Charlottesville into the foothills, the elevation rose as we went westward. Then the car descended into the Shenandoah Valley. Then began to lift again, not even an hour later, into higher elevations than the previous and older, more eroded ridge. We were surrounded on all sides by the George Washington and Jefferson National Forests, rock deformations, societal deformations, and inside a forest named after slaveholders. Forests with histories of dogs and runaways, runners, believers that either made it or didn't. Roads full of men who draw guns and become dogs that America has trained to pull the trigger when rap music is too loud for the fragility of class. The car came to a halt and Chris woke me up from a nap. He immediately asked me, "What do you want from the store?" I lethargically began to list what I wanted before I said, "I'll just go in myself." "Nah, dog, don't worry about it. I got you." He promoted my continuation of sleep, and I wanted to allow it. But I want stuff for the whole weekend, so I'll just get it. I fought sleep. "Dog, I just don't think you want to go in there," Chris pointed. Confederate flags flew over the side of the building, painted with the words "Nobama." Chris got me everything I wanted from the store, and I remember as I write this that I never paid him back, and he never asked me to. That store and the serpentine road that I would have thought was beautiful was the last thing I saw before going behind the gate of the spelunking grounds and before being locked in. I spent the entire Labor Day weekend afraid of being seen. I heard from the tent what I assumed to be wolves. Chris informed me that they were just coyotes and that they could not come near and they would not come near, that they were more afraid of us and fire than we were of them. But every time I heard a truck on the road, I felt like Emmett Till when Roy Bryant knocked on his uncle's door. Images of men peeing on trees kept me awake. Dogs marking their territory, looking for runaways from urban areas, from the concrete prisons of being surveilled. They sent the dogs into the trees to bite and rip at the knees of those who tried to reach the other side of the wilderness. Don't be mad when I say Lord told me to fear the pack, but to fear told me to fear the fat pack, but to fear the hands that freed the dogs even more. Now I'm gonna move. I haven't really been writing a lot of poetry recently. I'm working on a novel, and I don't like to read excerpts of novels personally because I get bored every time I've done that myself, and I just trail off. But I do have a poem that that I wrote first and inspired me to write this novel. And it's called "Filter These in Blue or Indigo If You're Him." A Black boy sits in a classroom and he feels like he can be more of himself in this place because his father cannot follow him here. However, he has to be surrounded by his friends, all of them Black girls, because there are other bullies in this world. Black girls have been his shield since the second grade. He has never seen them as never seen them as girlfriends in the way his father does when he lies to himself. This young man has only seen them as the homie warrior sharpening their weapons towards the mouths of those who wish to call him out of his name. He can only learn this way, learn when he feels safe, and he learned early that Black women saved his life. Women who showed up like his two older sisters who both taught this boy that he was beautiful even though he did not believe it. 2, a Black boy goes to church with his family every Sunday. And from the moment he walks into the arched doors, he feels like all eyes are on him. The eyes of the congregants who smile in his mother's face, the parishioners who smile in his face, smiling like the spear of Longinus. He wonders if this will be one of those Sundays when the pastor, who too smiles in his face, will speak on the divine purpose of heterosexual marriage. The boy wonders if he will be damned on this day, and on all other Sundays caged by stained glass windows, depictions of Black Jesus. On the Sundays when the young adult choir sings The boy wants to lift his voice in solo, but he knows the devotees will not hear his passion or envision the passion, his suffering. They will only hear the tenor of his voice, the softness that lets them know that he is the abomination that they need to protect their holiness from. When death comes, he wonders if the judgment of their God will be as piercing as the thorns of his disciples. 3. A young Black man walks into a barbershop after having been away for some time. The young man feels just like he is at home because he will hide pieces of himself in his silence. He never speaks up because he feels like his voice is a tell. He is used to his father bringing him, but he can drive himself now. He will be surrounded by the safety of shared Black skin for anywhere between 45 minutes to 2 hours, and he will leave looking like a better version of himself. But a little bit of him died each time an elder asked him about a girlfriend that he never had or wanted, and he felt the need to lie to them. He often wonders if his ancestors are still looking out for him, even though he's this bough that may never bear branches. He laughs at all of the men's jokes, even though they at times find holes in the cement that has been hardening around his chest, protecting him from cuts that he doesn't have to pay $12 for, the boy's price. Even though he is in his first year of college, he pays the boy's price because he is home visiting and his childhood barber is glad to see him. 4. A Black man goes to his family reunion and he limits his speech and movement so much you can imagine him with shackles and handcuffs. He shrinks himself around uncles and cousins who press him to talk about the girls in his life, and he lies himself to the bathroom. He finds himself in the kitchen and he expands out of his chest amongst the women, floating in their laughter, Black women, the sisters of his father, the women who fed him recipes that his father never learned to prepare, women with the power to hold generations, women with the power to hug away all shame, the women who raised the man who raised him. When he leaves the kitchen, he will feel comfortable enough to ask his favorite uncle for some of his homemade white lightning. His uncle will be surrounded by men who also share this young man's blood, but they scab over when the young man opens his mouth, and he notices this and lowers his volume, the audacity his aunts gave him. His favorite uncle lowers his voice as he pours his nephew a drink and tells him to mix it with something sweet, so his nephew does. His favorite uncle doesn't ask him about girls. He asks him about everything but. And as the young man walks into the crowd of family to put food into his stomach, he remembers that he is safe. 5. A Black man walks into his classroom for the first time. Ever since he accepted the job, he has been walking backwards past his teenage self in the hallways of the middle school that taught him how scars are formed. He can still feel the brine that was thrown onto his back when he walked down the halls. He sometimes lives in the first time that he was called a faggot, lives in the loneliness of not being able to tell anyone. He couldn't give his parents more than they had already assumed. The silence they carried when they were around him only got heavier over time through a phase that did not end, heavier than anything his father ever attempted to carry, ever wanted to carry. Standing in his classroom, the man knows stones will be thrown at him once again. He shows up every day as his entire self, hoping that maybe one day a student will see something in him that the man never saw in himself growing up, an adult version of something inside of him that he thought needed to die. 6. A Black man attends his father's funeral. There is so much more that the son wants to say, that he wants to be heard by his father's ears. He can only say it to the wind now, praying it finds ears made more amenable in death. The man's aunt, one of his father's many sisters, hugs him and condenses. Her voice falters as she speaks. It feels so good to hug you. It feels like hugging him. And now I will move into some other like recent poems that I wrote in the last since the book was published, that have just been kind of sitting in my documents. And these ones are called Poems from Mamie Till. One, Mamie said Emmett was more like a brother. My mother looked after him while I worked, she said. This common narrative of how capitalism disrupts Black nuclear families, lower class families, makes Black parents appear neglectful when they cannot show up to school meetings, makes single parent households seem loveless. Media has always been spreading fake news about Black homes, privacies we were never given, as if our hovels are for, as if our, where did I go? As if our hovels are forever on the outskirts of the big house. He was a breeched baby, Mamie said, his feet out of the womb, his feet first out of the womb, as if to stand for something from the moment he was born, living to wake up a movement with a nightmare so true you wish it were a lie. When Mamie moved out on her own, out of her mother's home, she recalled how Emmett didn't abide by her, like he did his grandmother, and she didn't get much time to be the mother she wanted, to grow out of being his big sister. Emmett gave Mamie his watch before he got on that train that took him south to Mississippi. It was the last thing he ever gave her. I don't need it where I'm going, Emmett said. I repeat, he gave his mother his watch and said, I don't need it where I'm going. 2. There was already blood smeared above the door, snapped branches sapped, dripping down onto the sunken wooden planks, and still death knocked on the door in the dead of night, the door of Moe's right, demanding more. While still drunk with the afterbirth of this nation on its breath, we just want to whip him and turn him loose, Roy Bryan and J.W. Milam said in the living room of Moe's right, in the dead of night. And those two Black adults, aunt and uncle, knew that they could not protect their nephew Bobo from two white men with a gun in Money, Mississippi. They knew they had to sacrifice the branch in order to save the bough. 3. Mamie said they took her son's teeth, like the teeth in George Washington's mouth from his slaves, replacing the ones that rotted in the first president's head. Are Emmett's teeth in that river, the Tallahatchie, from which his body exhumed? If not, whose mantle might they adorn? Mamie said my baby had pretty teeth. So, who died with them rattling in their skull? Lynching is a word, but what they did to Mamie's son was show him what the devil is capable of. 4. I don't know. I do know that without the shedding of blood, there is no redemption. Emmett was the catalyst, Mamie said. This reaction is a haunt, and this house has yet to be cleansed. And I think I still have 10 minutes. So I will read, I will finish off in my book. I'll go back to my book and I'll read 2 more pieces from this and then I should be done. What's that one? My mother introduced me to my spirit. I do not know how she did it, but she did it. It could have been her waking up an hour before me and my sisters on school days to prepare breakfast or laying out our clothes or taking us to school herself before she herself went to work. Or it could have been her leaving work to pick us up from school. dropping us off at home with only two chores of pulling meat out of the freezer, which she would prepare when she returned home after the remainder of her workday, and doing our homework. In school for 13 years, and I can probably count on my fingers and toes how many times I ate school lunch because I rarely left home without a brown paper bag. The brown bag my mother's skin was lighter than in the 50s and 60s. The bag that she decorated with my name and messages of encouragement, messages I tried my best to hide as I got older and more anxious about the opinions of others. The only paper bag test I had to pass was to see if it successfully held the lunch that my mother filled it with. It could have been her taking us to church or taking off when we were sick and even faking sick, her willingness to lose sleep when I woke up with an asthma attack, or after wetting the bed, or just thinking that there was something ominous in the closet. It could have been her undying support and longing to understand her children, even when we introduced her to issues that she never had to endure. Or maybe she was introduced to my spirit early in life, before I even had a physical body, before she had met my father. My mother saw a ghost. One of those days after she picked me up from school, dropped me off at home, and went back to work, tired and sitting in the traffic that did not used to exist in the city of battlefields. Luckily, there was a back entrance to the subdivision that my mother and father worked hard to afford for us, the only Black family in the neighborhood, the family in the house next to where they erected the neighborhood watch sign, a back entrance on the south side of Blue and Gray Parkway, gray for the south and blue for the north, an entrance or an exit right next to the cannon that was used by the South and from which I heard fire every night shortly after 1 a.m. My mother assured me it was coming from the Dahlgren Naval Base 30 miles away. I never believed her. Maybe questioning beyond the woman that gave me life, questioning beyond the woman that gave me life, questioning beyond the woman who would clip her own roots to make sure her seeds were watered, introduced me to my spirit. The Battle of Fredericksburg lasted for 4 days, December 11th through the 15th, in the 60s, 1862 to be exact. The South lost 608 men on that day, the North almost 1,300, and even though more northern blood was shed, it was a gray coat that my mother saw on her way home on that particular day that she saw that particular ghost, crossing the road with his head bowed, walking in a disillusioned state. He looked lost and wanted to be acknowledged, I recall her saying. Even before this incident, my mother had seen ghosts. The first account she shared happened in the very office from whence she came, the office that was my father's office, law office, the office that used to be her childhood dentist's office. Sitting in her desk positioned next to a window facing the driveway, she would see the old olive green Cadillac of the deceased Dr. Wyatt pull up, the car she remembered from her childhood park and disappear, but only after she would hear the wooden screen door in the back slowly creak open and quickly slam shut. She never feared him. Why her? Why hadn't my father encountered the ghost? He ventured into the stone cellar where the dentist stored his equipment before he died and where his equipment still rusts more than my mother. And he had never encountered the ghost of the wandering toothsman. He stayed behind, he stayed behind well into the night sometimes and had never mentioned any weird happenings. My mother introduced me to my spirit. My mother spoke to the ghost of the dentist one day after she saw his Cadillac and heard the door slam, saying, "Dr. Wyatt, you may not remember me, but you used to be my dentist when I was a little girl. You can stop scaring me now. It's time to move on." And with that, she never saw the phantom Cadillac pull up again, nor did she hear that door slam again. My mother slowed down when she saw the gray coat. When I was a kid, my mother used to pick up children she saw walking to school as she took us. One time, the kid she picked up didn't even go to my school, and she still went out of her way to drop them off. She would also pick up people she knew from her childhood if she saw them walking along the road. I don't know if my mother thought the gray coat was in distress or looked familiar even, but she slowed down. And when she did, he crossed the road before her. He wanted to be acknowledged by her like those many times she saw her father right after he died and before she married my dad. He walked across the road slowly before her stopped car and disappeared when he got to the other side, marching from the trenches on the south side of the road to those on the northern side, as if my mother were a bridge leading wanderers across a raging white river, the bridge that carried me from the darkness to the light, the bridge that introduced me to my spirit. The house she lives in now is a house that she always wanted. She walked past it as a child on her way to church, imagining it painted yellow. My father purchased it as a rental property right after it caught on fire and needed to be gutted and renovated in the 90s. My mother's suggestion. When they divorced, she was given the house, not the office that had been cleansed, and became a rental property after my father purchased his new office, but the house that she always wanted. The builder of that house and many of the houses surrounding it lived in the house my mother lives in. Her garage is his old workshop, filled with old tools, old Campbell's soup cans, matches, and Lucky Strike boxes. In the summer, when the grass grows high, the pathway leading to his workshop appears trodden as if he still uses it. One summer when I go to visit her, the grass will probably be sprouting and growing along that historic pathway, blending into the yard. And she will have another story to tell me. My mother, the bridge. My mother introduced me to my spirit. And I'll actually end there because I only have 2 minutes. But thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting me to this reading, Danielle. And thanks for that amazing introduction.
Thank you very much, Trey. That was a wonderful reading. We really appreciate your coming all the way from Oakland to read to us. Now we're going to take a 5-minute break before Holly Melgard reads. And during that time, we would all appreciate it if you would donate $5 or more to the readers. And remember, everything you donate goes directly to the readers. So if we could have a little music and a sign so that people know how to donate, we'll be back with Holly Melgard very soon.
Staring at my nose in the mirror, trying to dip my toes in the mirror, thinking who's that girl, and does the mirror world go on forever? Carmine Road, sharpening the knives in the attic, trying to watch cartoons through the static. Thinking, where am I gonna be if I'm ever 23? Oh, I'm looking at life unfold, dreaming of the green and gold, just like the ancient stone. Every sunrise, I know those eyes you gave to me, they let me see where I come from. Found an old friend, meeting my guitar in the city, feeling like a star in the city. And suddenly it seems that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Oh, now I'm fully grown, and I'm seeing everything clearer, to sweep away the dust from the mirror. We're walking hand in hand on the warm white sand. Just like the ancient stone, every sunrise I know those eyes you gave to me, they let me see where I come First one's a fool who'll be the fool now. Who's gonna get in line? First one to go, first one to get away. Let's go to moonlight. Then they will never find. Let's go alone, free from the mother mind. Come on, alone, 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 alone. Jump on it. Jump on it, on it. Jump on it. Jump on it. Hit him with a knock, knock, hit him with a back, and away, and away, and away. Hit him with a knock, knock, hit him on the top, hit him with a flop, flop, hit him with a shot, and away, and away, and away, and away. Yeah. Hit him with a watch, hit him with a tap, 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 hit him up, 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 and away, and away, and away, and away. Hit him with a watch, hit him with a cap, 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 what you got, and away, and away, and away, and away, and away, and away. Jump on it. Jump on it, on it. Jump on it.
Welcome back. I'm James Sherry, and I'm pleased to welcome Holly Melgard to the Segue reading series. Much poetry is full of circumlocutions, phrases talking around a theme in an effort to show the tentative characteristics of reality. Holly Melgard managed to present that uncertainty by making the reader squirm, by feeling doubt, being in doubt about what they're reading, rather than just referring to it. Last fall, Holly published Fetal Position with Ruth, so I had a chance to read it very closely. Her range of styles crash over one amazed reader. In fact, every amazed reader. The book is really a single theme in 6 instances of genre writing, experimental, yet boldly accessible, even full frontal. That theme is labor. First, giving birth. I suspect, quote, I suspect I might want to have kids, but I don't know if I want to have kids because I don't know what wanting to have kids is supposed to feel like. Undermining those fictions of women's secret knowledge. And at the same time, this is a really mysterious work. The second version of the theme is divisions of labor, an alphabetized list of sounds uttered during dramatic portrayals of giving birth found out on YouTube. Ah, 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 and anesthesia. Third is child labor, quotations from pornographic monologues from the fetus's point of view. Quote, when I was inside of her, deep in her body, I was so deep in her. I was all the way up to her stomach. When I was in her, she felt so small and breakable. This one was really complex to read and in some ways more threatening. Fourth, student labor is a series of verbal gestures. First, some excuses for not getting work done when things you say and trying to work together through phones and social media. Not an attractive view of students, but all real dialogue. Fifth is a mother's loving and despairing description of her feral child. This one was really scarier than the fetal porn. Quote, we adopted him after he was found in a field, limping on a broken leg, half starved and severely dehydrated. And finally, a satire of men's catcalls to women, written as a woman dog calling to an attractive yet somehow particularly diminutive man. Hey, pretty little big cute guy, do you need a cuddle? Do you? What do I need to say about this book that isn't quite apparent when she reads it? The transformation found in language and genre writing takes place in fetal position as a taxonomy of labor, political, sexual, social, and hierarchical. The book really defies interpretation, replacing it with classification, which I suspect was one of Holly's intentions. Fetal position is demonstrative. It shows how work is done together, how work doesn't get done. Exploitation, theory, conceptual, and endlessly fascinating. Fetal position marks an epitome of stylistic categorization. And I think she's going to read from some other manuscripts as well and show us a video. So I can't wait for Holly to read. Oh, well, maybe I don't have to wait anymore. Here's the writer, Holly Melgard.
Thank you so much, James, for that thoughtful introduction. And thank you to Artist Space and Segue for having me, Danielle and James for coordinating and organizing this. It's such a pleasure and a delight to get to read with Trey. Like, I was looking forward to this for a long time, looking forward to meeting you in person. I'm sad not to, but also excited to hear this work. Like, the piece that you read that was the poem that provoked the novel, I just kept thinking about this Barbara Guest line that goes, by whom or what agency is this decided? By what invisible architecture is the poem developed? It reminded me so much of that. Anyways, okay. So thank you all for being here. I'm gonna read a couple things today. I'm gonna start with my Poems for Baby trilogy, which was published in 2011 on Troll Thread Press, which is a collective press that I ran with some friends that publishes everything as free PDF and print on demand. So it starts with Colors for Baby, written and illustrated by me, Holly Melgard. Colors for Baby. White, clear, cream, milk, glue, water, steam, fog, wind, sugar cube, salt, ash, rain, club soda, clean, tooth, smoke, screen, air, area, space, light, tissue, window, snow, sweat, mucus, moon, plaster, mayonnaise, plastic wrap, powder, paper, glass, cotton, ice cube. That's the end of the first one there. And just, okay. The next one is foods for baby. Just a bit of visual work. Orange, lime, tangerine, grapefruit, grape, hazelnut, coconut, breast, melon, melon ball, dinner roll, chickpea, pea, baby pea, couscous, cabbage, Brussels sprout, caper, tapioca, cherry, tomato, cherry tomato, currant, blueberry, cranberry, peppercorn, poppy seed, cheese puff, cream puff, truffle, kibble, dumpling, donut hole, rum ball, gum ball, meatball. And third and the final book of the Poems for Baby trilogy, Shapes for Baby. Line, slope, backslash, fold, wrinkle, divide, slide, slant, tilt, lean, tip, ebb, wane, slow, drop, fall, down, fail, shame, die, needle, slash, slit, cut, crack, cleave, limb, penis, crevice, crevasse, recess, depress, descend, deplete, decrease, decline. That's the Poems for Baby trilogy. 2011, I made that just before I started making the fetal position poems. I'm going to read 2 poems from that tonight. And this is work I made over the course of 10 years, kind of my first 10 years as a poet in the world over the course of my emergence. And it starts with a couple of epigraphs. The first epigraph, let's see. Okay, so the first epigraph is from Sylvia Federici's Precarious Labor, a feminist viewpoint. And it goes, the precarity of labor is rooted in the new forms of production. Another one in here, Audre Lorde's poetry is not a luxury. It is through poetry that we give name to those ideas which are, until the poem, nameless and formless, about to be birthed, but already felt. That distillation of experience from which true poetry springs, births thought, as dream births concept, as feeling births idea, as knowledge births or precedes understanding. And the last one, Agamben's Infancy and History. That which has its place of origin in infancy must keep on traveling toward and through infancy. My radiator is starting to go off. I hope it doesn't sound insane. Please tell me if it sounds insane. Don't hesitate to interrupt me because I might have to switch to a different microphone because it's pretty crazy. Okay, so reproductive labor, I'm just gonna read almost its entirety with the exception of like 3 stanzas, and they're just the ones I don't feel like reading, but I haven't actually given it that much time to just breathe, so I thought I would spend some time with that tonight. It's kind of loud. It's long, and it starts with this epigraph from Antonio Gramsci's Prison Notebooks. The crisis consists precisely in the fact that the old is dying and the new cannot be born. Reproductive labor. People keep asking me if I want kids, and I don't know how to answer that question. I suspect I might want kids, but I don't know if I want kids because I don't know what wanting kids is supposed to feel like. I'm pretty sure I want to have had kids, you know, in retrospect. Only because I don't want to feel like I missed out on anything. But is that what wanting a child feels like? Does it feel similar to the desire to have paid off your bills or to have attended that event you feel obligated to go to but don't have the energy for? What does it feel like to know you want children? Is wanting kids a physical sensation? Like when you look at other people's kids, do your loins start burning and dilating with want for someone to come out of them? I can sort of imagine that. Does looking at a baby make your womb throb, your sperm squirm, your wallet pulse? I don't know, you tell me. I'm not asking to make fun or because I think it's fun or funny. I genuinely want to know, what does wanting kids feel like? When I'm hungry, the emptiness in my stomach makes it ache. Do you feel an emptiness in your torso when you want kids? At a certain point, will I get hangry for a child to fill up my midsection if I wait too long? The minute it occurs to me that I can have a cigarette, I immediately want one. And if too much time passes after that craving begins, eventually it becomes all I can think about. Is wanting a child like that? Is it a desire that forms out of the realization that you could have one? I mean, I could have had a child at any point. I could have had one when I was 13, but I don't necessarily know whether I want one just because I can have one with the same certainty that I know I want a cigarette at every moment that I can have one. Or is wanting kids less of an internal feeling or lack of craving belonging to any one body part and more of a holistic, overall physical longing for another? You know, like when you've been single for so long that all you can think about is who among your friends you can convince to spoon you without it getting weird. Is it a body loneliness thing, or does wanting a child feel like it does when I see a baby animal and all I want to do is hold it? I mean, the last thing I want to do is chores for helpless animals. Those creatures just look like food to me. But I would hold the shit out of any baby animal that would let me. I don't know if that's a baby thing so much as a cuddling thing. Baby animals make great hot water bottles by and large. I would spoon most full-grown animals too, for that matter, provided they have fur and aren't too vicious or smelly. Well, actually, I would spoon an elephant or a hippo, probably also an ostrich. So yeah, most if not all animals I would definitely spoon. But wanting to spoon that raccoon rummaging in the trash doesn't necessarily mean I'm prepared to care for it by, say, showing up for all its vaccination appointments. I mean, if I haven't managed to go to the dentist appointment, if I haven't managed to go to any dentist appointments in the last 5 years, how can I be trusted to go through on vaccinations? I guess it's not entirely my fault that I haven't been to the dentist. My insurance only pays for one cavity a year, but I have at least 5, which doesn't bode well for my all or nothing perfectionism. What does wanting a kid feel like physically? Does it hurt? Does it burn? Does it sting? Does it ache? Is it just a coldness or an emptiness you wish to lessen? Or is it really a warmth and a fullness you wish to share? Does wanting children feel anything like preferring to work one job instead of the 3 I have? Is it part of the urge to simplify your life and consolidate options? I bet if I had a kid, daily decision-making would become way easier. Do I want to stay out at this bar or go home? What city do I want to live in? Can I eat chips for dinner? I'll bet limiting my options would make these answers to this kind of thing become more obvious. Would having kids liberate my time like a set of productive constraints? Sometimes it feels really good to cook a loved one a meal or do something nice for them, like knit them a scarf or draw them a card. Does wanting a kid feel like the desire to serve another? I don't mean that in a judgy way. I'm asking because it seems like there can be pleasure in that. I would love for the act of cooking dinner to feel more like my pleasure than my burden. Chores in general, make them less painful, please, by all means. Living in the service of another sounds easier to me than living in the service of self. Is that how people come to want kids? The need for the object of their desire to be intelligibly, tangibly external from themselves? I can relate to that. I remember what strongly wanting things felt like when I was a child, but I don't think I'm very good at knowing how to want things strongly as an adult. It's possible that's because most of the time, I don't feel like I'm much of an adult. I make negative income. Someone else owns my shelter. I'm scared and overstimulated most of the time. I have no assets, and I can't begin to imagine myself in the future. Statements that are just as true today as they were when I was a child. Do you have to strongly not identify with children to want one of your own? because I don't know how to not and feel infantilized by the conditions of my life. In what ways is child wanting an extension of narcissism? I mean this in the healthiest sense of the word. Does it feel like the desire to look in the mirror and, fix your hair? Is that what it is? Or is the feeling of wanting children more like the feeling of wanting to create a world in which others admire you, fear, and respect you? Like a superiority thing? Is that what it feels like? Because I would be down for that. I never not want that, to be honest. Although that is what Victor Frankenstein also wanted, and look how that turned out. Or is wanting kids the feeling of wanting to conspire with others, wherein they'll fight for you in a way those unrelated to you by blood never would? Like in the apocalypse, when someone says, well, next I guess we'll need to eat Holly. It seems like that outcome could only be averted by being a parent. If I were a parent, my kid could respond to this declaration by saying, no way, that's my mom. Or I could defend myself by saying, no way, I'm a parent, which seemed like the only scenarios in which people could choose not to eat me if it came down to it. Are having kids the only way to avoid being eaten in the apocalypse? I know I want to survive the apocalypse. Is wanting kids like wanting to survive? What do you picture when you feel the desire for wanting children? All I can seem to picture is a split screen of two versions of me on my deathbed. On the left, I'm staring into the eyes of my grown child weeping over me as I lay dying. On the right, I'm just lying there dying, watching the wallpaper peel with no one crying. I'm going to be pissed if no one cries when I die. Is wanting children similar to wanting to make people cry? That sounds kind of awful. Should I be leaning into that desire or leaning away from it? Is there a special kind of loneliness for childlike company when wanting a kid? Most of my friends are artists and are pretty childish, to tell the truth. Like in the way that Freud says that every child at play behaves like a creative writer, in the sense that they, unlike adults, take pleasure in rearranging the world to their liking. Is that why I never crave the company of children? Because I'm basically surrounded by them most of the time? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not bothered by the presence of children. I wish they were more integrated into adult spaces, just for everyone's sake. But sometimes when I'm having a conversation with a kid, I notice that they can be pretty ignorant compared to adults. Does wanting a child feel similar to the want for simpler times, like a pastoral craving or a return to innocence or nature? Most of the time I wish I were camping. Is it like that? A real ignorance is bliss sort of vibe? Is that why people go for it? Or a child wanting people like, well, we basically said everything there is to say to each other, so let's just start from the beginning. Say mama. Can you say mama? Ma, try it. Or does wanting a kid feel like the opposite of the social drive? Is the desire for social withdrawal? Does the knowledge of wanting a kid only come to you after noticing that what a disappointment people ultimately become? And you're just like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Is it like, you people all suck, I'm gonna go make my own people now? Like at a certain point, you just have to make your own people because all the ones you don't make are just too obnoxiously not your own. I don't mean this passive aggressively, I mean it honestly. My friends with kids hang out less, but I can also see why. The human race is a real fucking disappointment, you know? I mean, we made global warming, we are trash. No wonder my friends are all withdrawing into their own DIY family worlds. I'd love to build any alternative to this world. At this point, kids or no kids. Is wanting kids a world building thing or a world ending thing? Is it a want to make more world, or is it a want for less of this one? Does wanting a kid feel like it does when you realize that nothing you've managed to do with your life so far is going to leave a substantial enough mark, and the only reliable way to leave one is to imprint it on a kid? Is it a want for legacy or resignation? Or does wanting kids not come out of a lack of influence, but rather a surplus of means to support one? What if I don't feel strongly about wanting children because I don't have enough ducks in a row? Do I need to be able to afford a child to feel certain about wanting one? What if my owing a lifetime of student debt for a graduate degree, but less job security than my working class parents had, is obscuring my want for children? Is it because I lack the budget for one? Or is having less than my parents did stifling my imagination for wanting kids? Do I need to be able to picture a way to reproduce the life my parents gave me to want kids of my own? Is there any way to avoid that with the way our economy and ecology are going? What are the chances this world will get better and not worse? Less than 10%, more than 60? It seems like predictions matter when family planning. Do I need to be a sadist or want to assign another a consciousness to partake in the end of the world? What is the difference between wanting a kid and wishing the end of the world on someone at this point. Surely there are plenty of distinctions that could be made here between the desire to reproduce and the drive to punish. Tell me more about those. I've noticed that my friends in less populated areas had kids earlier and in higher quantities than my friends in cities. And my friends in the most densely populated cities have the fewest kids of them all. What if I don't feel so certain about wanting kids because when I look around, I see no room for them? When you want kids, do you chafe when you notice room for a kid that's not yet filled? I'll bet people in more rural areas look around at their underpopulated spaces and are like, we've got to put more people in here. Hardly anyone showed up to this party. We're never going to eat all these chips before they go stale. When you want kids and you live in a city, do you stand on the crowded subway just like, there's an empty spot in that corner that could fit one, and then stress out about that empty spot going to waste? Is that what wanting children feels like a wish to fill potholes in the road? I don't feel strongly like I do or don't want kids, but I will never turn down the chance to enjoy a good miniature. Kittens, dioramas, baby shoes, Brussels sprouts, enchanting, all of them. I've visited the diorama of New York City at the top of the Times Square McDonald's at least 24 times, by myself, never with people. They always want to leave far sooner than I'm ready. I love being there, but I can't stand any part of its constitution in isolation. Times Square, McDonald's, New York City, each are insufferable in themselves. But combine these into a diorama scenario, and I could spend all day there. Is that a sign I want children? I do love the idea of a diorama person, but I don't know if I like the decor they come with. What if kid wanting is really a mass affection for childishly color-coded interior design? Is that how people know they want kids? They walk through the toy section of the store and are like, if I buy these toys, my house can finally have the color palette I've always wanted, but never had the courage to own before I got these kids. Or is it the kids who want that stuff, not their parents? I really don't care for neon greens and pinks. If I like those colors, would I want kids more definitely? Does wanting kids feel like a want to surround yourself with certain colors? I know that feeling. Or does wanting children feel like the want for a toy? I know what wanting toys feels like for sure. Are children just toy people? That could be fun. And now, while I take a very big sip of water, we'll go to a quick commercial break.
Parents, has your child done this to my book, Colors for Baby? Well, you're not alone. Hi, it's me again, Holly Melgard. People have complained to me over the years that kids keep coloring in my trilogy books when left unattended. Apparently, the outlines compel them to fill the void, just like beavers driven to dam up unobstructed water flowing in a forest. So I'm now harvesting their energy to purposefully biohack your child's instinctual drive to fill the void in order to automate production of my next book, Colors by Baby. So I'm asking for your help to complete it. Let's fill this void together. Step 1. If you don't already have one, buy my book, Colors for Baby, written and illustrated by me, Holly Melgard, on Lulu.com. Step 2. Read it to a child, and then give them the book and some coloring or drawing supplies. You can even leave them unsupervised at this point. Step 3. Photograph the results. Step 4. Send pics of any pages that your child fills to me at colorsbybaby@gmail.com. That's colorsbybaby@gmail.com today.
All contributors will be credited for the child labor by name unless explicitly requested otherwise. Pictures must be sent no later than New Year's Day 2023. Shipping and handling may apply.
Thanks to all those who helped me make that video. That originally aired for the Poetry Project New Year's Day Marathon. It's a new update to the Poems Baby trilogy. So if you have access to little ones, I could really use their help. Meanwhile, the last poem I'm going to read is, I'm just going to skip through all the stuff in the middle that James told you about and go right to the end, because I'm going to be reading divisions of labor and child labor, the more erotic pieces, when I read with this amazing Farsi translator, Halaliza Ghaffori, who is putting out a new book of Rumi translations, and we're going to be doing this panel on ecstatic embodiment, and I'm really excited to think and talk about this work in that light. So we're going to do a bookend reading, read the first and last part of this book. So next and last is Catcall, and I'm going to read a kind of clipped version of it just to kind of take you through the arc of the piece. It's got 2 epigraphs to start. Aimé Césaire's Monsters. My terror is in seeing the squad of the nameless emerge. And the other is Sarah Schulman's Conflict is Not Abuse. Just as unresolved, formerly subordinated or traumatized individuals can collude with or identify with bullies, so can unresolved, formerly subordinated or traumatized groups of people identify with the supremacy of the state. In both cases, the lack of recognition that the past is not the present leads to the newly acquired power to punish rather than the self-transformation necessary to resolve conflict and produce justice. Okay. Oh my God, check out that guy over there. Oh my God, look at him. Look at that guy. Look at what a guy he is. Hey, cute guy. Hey you. Hey, hi, cutie. How are you? He sure is cute. Oh my God, look at how cute he is. Holy shit, he's a cute one. Jesus Christ, look at him. Look at that guy being such a guy. Oh my God, what a guy. Talk about a guy. Hey guy. Hey guy. Guy. Yeah, you guy. Hi guy. Hey, you're a really cute guy. You sure are. Oh my God, he's a cute guy. Oh, he is a guy. He is, isn't he? Dude, just look. Look at what a fucking guy he's being. He's just being a really, really cute little guy right now. Hey, cute one. Look at you. You're a cute little guy, aren't you? You are. You're a huge, cute little guy. Yes, you are. The hugest. It's okay. I like that. I like you. Look at what a guy he's being. Look at him go. I'll bet he just needs to cuddle right now, and that's why he's being like that. He probably does. You know it's true. Hey, pretty big little cute guy. Do you need to cuddle? Do you? Do you want to cuddle a little bit? Because I can cuddle. I can tell you're a cuddler. Oh, I can. You sure are. Look at this bud. Goddamn baby body. That's what he's got, baby bod. What's up, small bod? What's up, small baby bud? What's up with your small butt? Let me get your butt. Jesus Christ, look at this guy. Yeah, look at him over there with his small butt. Look at that baby butt he's got going on. Look at him go. Oh my God, look at you go. Hey, baby butt, can I please have your small butt now? Oh, come on, I want it now. It's okay, we can do this. You're just gonna need to give me your small butt right now, that's all. He's gonna need to give me his butt. That's what he's gonna need to do. And I'm gonna need to have him. Come on, little guy, come be my butt, be my bud. I'll be your friend, come on. I'll bet you're fun. I'll bet he is fun. Yeah, I'll bet you're fun. You look like it. You look like you probably got one of those fun butts, don't you? Anyone that small has got to be from Little Town. Oh, he has to be. He just has to. He must. Yeah, I'll bet he is. In fact, I know he is. He is definitely the littlest one from Little Town, and that is where he's from. It's true. It's true. He is the littlest one from Little Town. He can't help it because he's that small. No, he can't help it. No. Hey, you little bud. Let me get your littlest fun, cute guy bod. I want your bod, little one. Yeah, he is definitely the littlest one from Little Town with how small he's being right now. It's true. That's how small he's being. He is being that small. He is. He's so small, he probably calls it Littleton, like he's really from there. You know he does. Hey, bud. Where you going with your little bitty bod? Can I please have your bud bod? Come on, I want to have your bod now. Let me have it. Littleton. That's what the locals call it. All the locals in Little Town call it Littleton. It's true, they really do. That's how you know when they're little enough to be from Little Town. You know they're a real Littletonian when they call it Littleton. That's how they say it too, Littleton. They say it just like that. It's true, they do, Littleton. I mean, for fuck's sakes, look at him. He is definitely, without a doubt, the goddamn littlest Littletonian from Little Town, and that is what he is. I know it. Look at him calling it Littleton to himself in his head while he's walking there. Hey, Mr. Bitty Bud. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Hey, Mr. Boo. Come on, be my mister. For fuck's sakes, look at him. Look at how small, look at his small body headed back to his tiny home in Littletown as we speak, calling it Littleton, just like that, like it were nothing. Saying it that way, like everyone else called it Littleton too. Like everyone else in the world called it Littleton and not Little Town, which you know to any Littletonian doesn't mean a goddamn thing. What's up, baby sir? Come be my mister. Oh, come on, don't go. Take me with you. Maybe I can get him to take me back to Littletown with him. Hey, baby guy, take me back to Littleton with you. I want to meet your cute parents. There is just no way that anyone could ever be that small. It's just not possible. He's just being way too small to be this possible right now, and I don't like it. I'm sorry, but he is just too small. Way too fucking small, and it is not okay. Hey, bub. Hey, bubba. Hey, bubba bud. Hey, you, baby bub. Fuck you. Fuck you and your ridiculously small body. Your smallness needs to stop now. I said stop. No means no. Fuck this guy's baby body for being that small. Seriously, fuck him. Hey, Bud Bug, I'm going to stop your body. Yes, I am. Someone needs to put a stop to all this smallness. I'm sorry, but his body just really needs to be stopped right now because there's just no way that anyone can be this small. No way, sir. No, you cannot be like this. No, you cannot. Nope, no way. Nobody's like that. No body. You know what, Fun Butt? I'm going to need to touch your body with my body right now. And you're going to need to let me, okay? So enough is enough. You need to come over here now, put your goddamn bod on top of my bod, quit screwing around. I mean it this time. Hey, Mr. Guy, yeah, you, I'm talking to you. You're gonna need to be in my arms right now because it's where you belong. Don't you walk away from me. You need to stop being so far away from my body. Come on, bud, give me your bod. There's no point in fighting it because I'm gonna have you now, okay? Oh, come on, don't give me that. Come on. God damn the selfish guy. God damn him. Excuse me, sir, sir. Hey, mister, sir, over here. I'm right here. I need your butt. Give me your butt. Come over here. I need you now. Hey, it's okay. Unless it's one of your fun butts that's bothering you. I don't mind it. I like your butt. I'd like to bother your butt. What the fuck? Why is he like that? I mean, look at that butt. I totally want to cup his butt right now. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I want to do that to him now. What's up, baby butt? Let me get your bod. Let me get your butt. Let me cup your butt. I need to cup your butt right now. What do you think about that? Come on. Let's just cup butts for a minute. It'll only take a minute. Oh, come on. Let me cup you. It's just butt cupping. Look at how smooth his butt looks. It's so smooth. You know the hairs on it are all soft and silky. He's probably got one of those rug butts that's too soft to give you rug burn. That's how silky it is. Oh, come on, don't be like that. I just want to touch your soft rug butt. Hey, soft butt. It's okay if there's hair on it. I don't mind. I like a rug butt. I do. I really do. Oh, come on. Don't be that way. Why is he being like this? Don't be like this. Come on. Stop being this way. Don't be all cruddy. Don't you dare get all cruddy on me now. Don't do it. Stop being a cruddy buddy. Be my guy. Be my bud. It's okay. I'm not mad. Just don't be a crud bud. Jesus Christ, you said he could be like that. I know I never did. Hey, crud bud, it's not okay for you to be that way. You can't just go around looking like that and not let me cup your soft rug butt. Man, he's not going to stop devastating me with his body, is he? Who even told him he could act like that? I don't even know. Hey, you, stop devastating me. Seriously, you stop now. What are you trying to do? Ruin me? Stop trying to ruin me. How would you like it if I went around all day trying to ruin you? He needs to stop ruining me with his body right now. He does. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ruin his life. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ruin him. I'm going to ruin his butt. I'm going to ruin his fucking rug butt. That's what I'm going to do. Hey, you. Yeah, you need to have your butt mug. That's right. I'm going to mug your butt right now. I'm going to mug it. I'm going to rub mug your soft rug butt, okay? Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone who attended today. I know it's like 1 degree outside, but look at you staying indoors, staying warm. I'm proud of you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Holly. That was wonderful. I could just imagine you standing at a, yeah, you could leave your camera on. I can just imagine you standing at a construction site with a hard hat. Your speaker isn't on.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That's what you would picture, James.
That's how I picture you. So thank you all for coming. And just so you know, Holly Melgard's Fetal Position is available from Small Press at Small Press Distribution, spdbooks.org. And it's worth reading. Next week, we're going to have Charles Alexander and Lonely Christopher reading for us in Danielle and my final final event. And so I hope you'll come next week at 5 o'clock. And in the meantime, please donate to Holly and Trey so we can show our appreciation with some hard cold cash or electronic cash. Now I'd like to invite you all in the audience to come into the panel so we can have a discussion. Everybody can turn on their camera.